Hi to everybody, and welcome back to the final presentation. A very exciting one for me. Scandinavian biogas. I think it's a little bit unknown, but I checked the data. 40% of the Danish gas production is now biogas. I think we are going to 70. I guess that's also happening in other countries. Secondly, maybe a fun fact, but a guy owning this type of company moved to the 50s richest person in Denmark when a capital fund bought him out of his biogas company. What that tells me is that we are now getting to a scalable and sustainable level in this industry. So with no further, I will not say any more, Matti. I think you should present your company and the technology behind and the business case in it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for a very exciting introduction. That's really impressive. As said, the case we are now discussing, Scandinavian Biogas. My name is Matti Vikkula. I'm the CEO of the company. Have been now in this role around 12 years. We are a Stockholm-based company and listed in Stockholm Nasdaq First North. And what are we doing? We are focusing on converting organic waste streams into biogas, as well as biofertilizer, and we also have an opportunity to produce green CO2. What can you do with the biogas? You can either produce energy and power, power and heat. You can also upgrade the gas and to use that as a vehicle gas, which is typically in Sweden, or you can inject that into the grid, which is very typical in Denmark, as you know. And then thirdly, you can liquefy the biogas so that it becomes, from chemical perspective, same product as LNG, but it's green, it's bio-LNG. And that opens up opportunities to use it for heavy transportation, shipping, and industrial use in a different way. What has happened in the biogas market lately? The key drivers have been related to the green transition, CO2 emission reductions in our atmosphere, very critical. However, now since Ukrainian war, we clearly see that the independence of Russian gas and need to assure domestic energy production in Europe has become more and more important, and there's quite a lot of interest to leverage biomethane, biogas, in that context in order to assure that purpose, or at least to be aligned with that. As I mentioned, the key areas for using biogas, as we see it from Scandinavian Biogas perspective, is heavy transportation, trucks and buses, and shipping. Buses and trucks are possible nowadays, given the fact that Euro 6 level gas engines are very competitive and at least as good as diesel engines, which was not the case in Euro 2 level. Thus, the competitiveness has improved. The value chain exists for all parts or the technology exists for all parts in the value chain. And especially on the map, you will see the amount of filling stations for LNG, bio-LNG in Europe. And there we are very happy to see that in Germany, where we have around 150 filling stations, our cooperation partner, Alten Oil, they have around 40% market share by operating 60 of the filling station, being very dominant on that market. In terms of shipping, there are already globally around 500 ships which use LNG or are going to use in the near future, and is also offering the opportunity to convert part of those volumes to bio-LNG. If and when you are using bio-LNG, there is no special conversion required between LNG and bio-LNG. You can use both, either or combined. What we have seen also is that during the last 12 months, that there are huge interest from private equities to invest into biomethane. We also saw the very successful transaction when the Danish Nature Energy was sold to Shell with a very nice valuation. And most importantly, the biogas market target has been increased to 350 terawatt hours biomethane by 2030 by European Commission. So they doubled the capacity expectation for this decade after the Ukrainian war, and are now actively working with the industry to assure availability and assure that bottlenecks will be resolved. About us as a company, we are actively looking for leveraging these opportunities in the European biogas and biomethane market. We established last year our growth organization, dedicated team, aiming to reach 1.2 terawatt hours 2026, and now have already decided to enter a new market in Germany by establishing our own production there. Identified 2 concrete projects which we will then now actively work with. We are in the permitting phase, aiming to be able to launch those projects next year. At the end of March, we had a order book on a level of 2.5 terawatt hours biomethane, which corresponds to 3.4 billion order book value for those volumes. The feedstock was also aligned with the 2.4 terawatt hours in. What is important that we see a transformation in the market, how the biogas is sold, and we see that we are going to get a 50 to 100% premium in the Scandinavian market for our biomethane compared to what we have been able to charge earlier on a level of 900 crowns per cubic meter. Now we get 50 to 100% premium for new agreements, newly signed agreements. The old agreements are still fixed prices with annual indexation. In the German market, you can get even premium, which is 100 to 300, depending on the market circumstances. And there's a systematic transition with our agreements, sales agreements, towards the newer ones. And on this slide, you see the transition from the old agreements to the new ones. So by the second half of this year, around 30% of our delivered volumes are estimated to be based on new agreements. And as you can see, that 2026, given the existing capacity and the investment decisions made, it's 70% is based on the new agreements. So what is important is that we, as a company, we have decided to use one brand. We have today 2 brands for biogas business, the Scandinavian Biogas and Biokraft in Norway. We have decided to leverage the Biokraft brand and position ourselves as a leading player in the bio-LNG space in Northern Europe, which is our home market. And we have been able to assure 3 additional years with the local bus operators here in Stockholm region. And most importantly, we have started our Mönsterås new facility project in the beginning of the year. And the project which we have commissioned already, I mean the investment phase in the beginning of last year, that is something which we will start the commissioning this summer, so that there will be additional bio-LNG volumes out to the market. If we then take a quick review for our Q1 report, energy sales was up compared to last year. We had some additional capacity in Norway that was supporting our volumes. To some extent, volumes were in Sweden slightly lower due to the fact that last year, before the energy crisis, we still were actively using glycerin as a feedstock, one special fraction for our sector. Total income was increased substantially. Part of that is related to the fact that last year we didn't have the production subsidy here in Sweden, and now we have it for the first quarter, have had it. So that is one of the boosters. And EBITDA margin was improved slightly. However, it's worth noting that our EBITDA target is 30%. I mean the margin. We are aiming to reach 30% margin by 2024. I'll describe a bit later on based on what criteria. So if you take the trend analysis of the company, you see that we have been on both sides of 100 million crowns in terms of total sales, and the traditional EBITDA has been around 15 to 20% during the market turbulence last year, and the non-existence of production subsidy. It was substantially lower during the first half and now improving. Part of the costs were related to last year, were related to the feedstock prices, energy prices, as well as our decision to establish this growth organization, which I already mentioned. Cash flow was from operating activities was slightly negative. The main activity was our investment activities. So the total cost from investments were on a level of 300. We have made quite substantial investments during the first quarter of this year, given the investment in Norway and Sweden. And the cash position at the end of the period was 242 or 3 million Swedish, and the total investment interest-bearing liabilities were on a level of 900, a bit more, including 250 so-called IFRS-related leasing debt on one of the facilities. So in terms of the cash, besides of the 240 million, we had 230 million in a liquid bond portfolio, which has a maturity period which is shorter than 12 months, so it's liquid funds. Besides of that, we have also our RCF and our own bond holdings on a level of 364. So the total liquidity of the group is around 800 million Swedish. In terms of the way forward, our aim is to reach 3 terawatt hours by 2030, and out of that, already 1.2 terawatt hours or 1,200 gigawatt hours by end of 2026, and that implies that we will need to make investment decisions on the level of 600 gigawatt hours before the end of last year. And as mentioned, the operative EBITDA margin is on level of 30%. That is our confirmed financial target for next year. All over, also we want to reduce CO2 equivalent on a level of 170,000 tons total reduction as a sustainability target, and even assure that there are no workplace injuries leading to any sick leave. These are the key group level targets. And how to then achieve this operative target 30%? By 2024, according to our business plan, we estimate that the total sold energy will be 30% higher, on a higher level compared to 2022. Simultaneously, as I mentioned, given the new agreements, sales agreements, the average sale price per gigawatt hour will increase by 40%. And also we see increase in our production costs per gigawatt hour, but they are much smaller than the increase in the sales price. So altogether, for the company, we see ourselves to be able to have a profit on last line before taxes when we have commissioned this summer the Stockholm Bio-LNG facility and the Mönsterås facility during the second half next year. And those both facilities have reached a reasonable utilization level of the capacity. And finally, how do we see that the company could look like by 2030? This is illustrative. Our home market is the Northern Europe. Currently we are based in Sweden and Norway, and we see that additional investments we are looking at in the Northern European space, including Germany, Benelux, and Poland. All these markets are interesting, and as I mentioned, we have already announced the establishment of the German unit. What does this imply in terms of turnover potential? With 2 euros per cubic, the total sales could be in the range of 600 million euros, and with 30 to 40% EBITDA, we could be on a level of 180 to 240 million euros EBITDA. And a rule of thumb is that the capex per gigawatt hour is 4 to 6 million Swedish crowns, depending on the size and the format. And with 500 gigawatt hours additional investment, we estimate the investment capex totally to be in the range of 3 billion Swedish crowns or 300 million Swedish euros, implying that these investment decisions shall be made before the end of next year. Likewise, we need to assure the financing simultaneously. I'm not going to describe our pipeline in detail, but this is something which we just published as part of our Q1 report. It's showing the status of our ongoing investments, as well as the status of the new investments in the pipeline. And as you can see, we are heavily focusing on agri-based waste and manure products, both in Sweden and Germany. It's looking a very, very attractive, as we see some from company perspective, and projects are well aligned with the EBITDA margin 30% plus. And for the outlook of this year, we see that the first half is a bit challenging profitability wise, given the fact that the benefits of the price transformation will impact the second half. We see then ourselves, given the renegotiated agreements, to have opportunities to have higher prices to some of the volumes, as well as us starting the deliveries for the bio LNG to the German market. So I think that this was the key highlights from my side related to Scandinavian biogas, and I'm open for questions. So please go ahead.
Yeah, the first one, you mentioned that prices are 50 to 300 above your average price for new contracts. What is your long-term expectation, and how long are those agreements? You know, the stability going into these. I don't know whether you can give some kind of sense of that.
It's a very good question. Thank you. First of all, historically, prices have been stable with annual indexation. Now the prices in the new agreements, there is a higher. They are closely linked to market prices, so prices will be much more dynamic, but as we see, they will be in the range of 50% to 100% premium compared to earlier prices, and always with the floor anyway. Typically, agreements in our industry with the customers or distributors, they are from 3 years to, say, 7-8 years.
Okay, perfect. Then there's a question: how do you work with the risk that biomass is maybe will have a high value in the future, you know, manure and such stuff, you know, your feedstock, you know, that might be used for other stuff. I maybe not that much in manure, but we are discussing it in other areas where you use, you know, what people have considered as waste will actually have a value in the future. So yeah. How do you operate with that in the model, and is the risk less on the manure side?
Exactly. Also a very important question. It depends, the competitiveness and competition depends on quite a lot of which kind of, say, organic waste stream we are discussing about. So, for example, glycerine and glycerol and those energy-rich residues, there is a standardized global market, and there is a market price. The competition on those are quite high. And last year we saw that the prices went up, and we were not able to put that price premium on our customers on the agreements we had last year, so we were forced not to use it. Whereas then and then also some sorted household waste, organic waste, there can be competition from other energy sectors as well. But as we understand and see it for manure, it is something which is quite dedicated for biogas, and the competition will be lower. And for example, I mean, if you take just Sweden, today we produce domestically 2 terawatt hours, but the capacity from feedstock perspective is estimated to 10 to 15 terawatt hours. So there is a multiplier of 5 to 7. And if you even could start using other technologies, gasification, then it goes up to 30 terawatt hours, the total potential.
Yeah, and let's actually dig a little bit into the technology side. A bit technical niche questions. Does optimizing the fermentation process play a big role in productivity, and what kind of technology do we have used for it?
Yeah, I mean, the fermentation process is the core, and it is the core for our company. We have tested more than 400 different organic waste streams in order to really understand what is the energy potential in respective feedstock, and how should you run the operations, how with those parameters which are available in order to assure high yield, high process stability, and mixing different feedstock streams. So this is something which is in core in our own capability. We are using supply for the mechanical part. We are using external suppliers for installing the capacities then in the facility. So we do not have our own equipment supplies in that context.
So that is the core one, because if it's a lucrative market, others might play in it. But it's this fermentation technology that's your core knowledge. That is your competitive advantage. Is that how we should understand it?
Yeah, correct. That is our competitive advantage. The second part, which is unique for us still for some while, is that we have today world's largest bio-LNG facility in Norway, Skogn. So we are, in a way, we have a certain advantage for us, given the fact that that facility has been already operational for 5 years, and now the others are following. But there is a certain kind of a benefit.
And looking a little bit at the industry, I know it was a short term. You said that your costs could grow less, but I think in the future, where are we on this curve? You know, the next facility you will build, you know, in the coming years, how much of an efficiency curve are you on, and what is driving that? Is that getting it bigger, or is it the technology side? If you understand that you understand more about the processes and can get more in and get more out of the systems you are building.
In terms of the efficiency, scale provides a certain kind of efficiency improvement, both in terms of capex and opex. And up to I would say to 102 gigawatt hours or 150 gigawatt hours capacity. Then there will be other factors which will be more expensive due to the logistics when supplying the feedstock with on trucks. So that's one of the angles. One of the key points from our side for enhancing the efficiency is to standardize. Historically we have been working with quite unique facilities given our feedstock, and now we are moving towards the manure and feedstock from agricultural sector, implying that we are able to standardize the facilities, standardize the functions, as well as certain key components. So we believe that there is a substantial improvement potential related to the best practice within the company and group and between the facilities, as well as for the maintenance part.
And then I saw on the slide there, you mentioned, of course, the heavy transport and the shipping, two very large. We also now seen that the aviation side, and I know that's liquefied, so I guess you need to do something in the process. But is that something you are looking into to add something to the gas to make it a liquefied petrol or something like that, to maybe try and enhance the value of your output? Is that possible for you, or is that someone who should do that after receiving your gas?
So your question was related to the aviation sector, exactly.
I guess everybody knows that when you build up such a sector, you're going to subsidize that heavy in the start, so it's a high value product you get out of it to start with.
Aviation industry has, of course, a major challenge in converting themselves, and we know that there are parties who are looking for the opportunity to use biomethane for the aviation as a raw material to convert it into say more applicable solution for that part. But we are not ourselves active in that process, but we know that there are some parties who have been thinking and working on that opportunity.
Perfect. I think we got through all the questions. Thank you for a very interesting case to get a look into this biogas, which is maybe a little bit unfamiliar to many Danish investors. So thank you very much, Matthew, and thank you for the audience of listening in. All videos we have seen today, presentation, our own, it will be available on the Inderes site, and you can watch it again. But thank you everybody for joining in on this GreenTech day.
Thank you very much as well.